Hi, Carl Herbst, Visual Effects Supervisor, Sony Pictures ImageWorks, and we're at the View Conference. We want, which is actually something that we struggled with on this film because at first everything was so detailed that it's like, well, what's important? And that's when we've started adding things like a lot than just doing it together in real time. So that's the first. The second, I think we're starting to integrate it now, is allowing animators to get faster feedback, and that's going to be the next step for us. Mostly because, one, we want a higher level of resolution to the images that they can see of the environment around that they're interacting with, and simultaneously get really fast rig feedback as they're trying to get, puppet these characters. The last step for ImageWorks that I know that's on the slate is really trying to get more real-time rendering for lighting, which would be a big plus. But we're going to approach that a little bit differently. Rather than using game engine technology, we're going to go much more of a real-time Arnold version on a graphics card, and so that's going to take a little bit longer to get into production.
Do you guys have direct correlation? For example, Sony has its PlayStation and they have their own technologies they're sharing in that capacity?
I wish there was, but there really isn't. As a matter of fact, I ran into somebody here at the conference who's from PlayStation. They're just like, I wish we actually talked more often, but we don't at all. And there was a period of time we tried years ago, and everybody's in their little silo solving the problems they have, either getting a game released or us getting a movie released, and we just don't cross paths. I wish we did. Instead, what seems to be happening is there's people who were in the industry who left that start making their own companies to make software and use the game engines and things like that to solve problems that they always felt couldn't be solved within the industry itself, and they're coming back with those instead.
But sticking with sharing, talk a little bit about how you guys, the different teams within Sony working on different projects, share as things are pushed forward in CGI.
Well, I think one of the great things about ImageWorks is the fact that we're a company that still does visual effects and animation, but we're also really a gun for hire for animation, just like we are for visual effects. So, a lot of people are like, well, Sony Pictures Animation, you're that. And we're like, well, no, actually, Sony Pictures Animation hires us to work on their films when they're ready. So just like Warner Brothers hired us in this case to work on Smallfoot. So looking at the year we just had, we had Emoji Finish, then we had Hotel Transylvania 3, this film, and Spider-Man coming out this winter, all going through the same pipeline, all through the same facility, and the technologies are building on each other. So as I'm actually getting ready for my next film, the stuff that they did for Spider-Man, I'm looking at going like, well, that's going to be the new du jour, so let's start talking about what do we want to pull from that and start building on for the next films afterwards. And that's one of the great things about a company like ours and the size we are, is that artists are going back and forth between live action and animation, and they're bringing something new with them every time, because they go to one of these films that had a lot of explosions in it and a lot of big effects, and they bring something back to the animated features, like, hey, I learned this on this show, and then all the information gets shared across the company.